welcome to PTV World. You are watching the special live transmission regarding the federal budget of the next fiscal year 2023 and 24. All eyes in Pakistan are set on this as the Finance Minister Senator Ishaq Dar will be presenting this budget in the National Assembly session at 4 p.m. And later on, he will be presenting this budget at the Senate at 6 p.m. The federal cabinet has already approved this particular federal budget that happens to be around to the tune of around 14 trillion rupees, and this particular budget is being termed as the PM Vision Budget 23-24. Let me quickly bring in our panelists. We are honored to have been joined in the studio by Mr. Faad Waheed. He's a Vice President of Islamabad Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We'll be joined by other participants in the live transmission. I'll be introducing them later on as they join in. Mr. Faad, thank you very much for joining in at this special transmission.
Thank you very much.
Let me begin with this particular, the GDP growth rate target that has been set at 3.5%. Taking it from the current 0.3% to 3.5%, what would it require for the government to, in terms of measures and the initiatives?
Well, we were already targeted at 3.5 last year. And this is again the reproduction of that, I'm pretty sure. But the last year has been quite problematic for Pakistan, especially when the floods came in. It destroyed about 50% of our crop, agricultural land. And the production of cotton went down by 49%, which was very staggering and which was very alarming for Pakistan, because with such a fragile economy, we really have to put up the, we have to pull up the boots now. We have to bring in all the machinery that we have. We have to bring out the best brains, and we have to make sure, we actually receive this target. We do expect 23 and 24 are going to be, a little aggressive, and the measures that governments are putting in place right now, I think it shows the commitment that Ishaq Dar is having towards the chambers and the associations and all the stakeholders. He's meeting all of them. I met him personally last week on the same subject, and he's taking all the new recommendations and all the innovations that we can provide to him. And I'm pretty sure, over the course of the last week, you've pretty much seen that, there's been consultation from all parts of business community. So I think it's really, I wouldn't say alarming, but it's ambitious. And at this point, it should be achievable. The next year will show us a little, because constraints of dollars is something, that is going to hit us. We've declined in exports in the last year, we've declined in imports, and unfortunately, we are exporting the same product that we are importing. So we import the same product, the raw material we import, and we create a product out of it and we export it. So it had a dual effect. It had a dual effect on the balance of payments as well. And we've seen this, and the manufacturing side especially is struggling to keep up with the factories. So I hope this will bring out a better change, but it is ambitious at this point.
We'll try to break it down. Let's start with the agriculture sector. As you already mentioned, we witnessed the catastrophic flooding in the summer of 2022 that had a very devastating effect on the crops. Now, what's actually required? We have already seen the government announcing a Kisan package of 2,000 billion rupees. Also giving it has also announced to give the direct subsidies to the farmers. Also, the solarization of tube wells initiative. How do you see those?
The first and foremost thing that we are missing is, we will be able to, provide these farmers with all the money and all the capacity to do this. But really and truly, we haven't really worked on transfer of technology in this area, and that's what we require. If we recall it right, Pakistan is known for their agriculture. It was known for the agriculture, but slowly and over the course of time, we have lost that vibe. And I think it's due time that this government takes these measures, that we at least, bring in the new technology. We, increase our yield per acre. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we face, because we're a water scarce country, and we're facing water shortages. And still we're utilizing about 80% of our water in just agriculture, which only constitutes about 16% of our GDP. So that is something, it has to be taken care of. Solarization on the other part, it's a good initiative, because electricity is really, we're out of electricity. We're only producing about 43%. And the rest of it, we have the capacity installed, but we're only making payments to IPPs, which is also affecting our dollar status. So those two things are actually affecting us. If we take the initiative and bring in the new technology and increase our yield per acre, we're pretty sure, we'll be able to export into our region. We'll be able to make these exports better as well, because we actually own one of the best fertile lands in the entire region. So, and rice, of course, rice is something I would love to mention here, because there's only 8 regions in between this region which are best for rice growth, and 6 of them are owned by Pakistan. So why not and why can't we do this? Again, we have one of the largest salt mines. We're known for pink salt, but then again, we're not actually capitalizing on that the opportunity, I would say. We're just least concerned on those. So I think, we have to come out of the conventional part of business and exports and come into the non-conventional parts. So, and of course, the non-conventional markets that we haven't touched yet, African and Central Asian regions.
Right. I will continue the discussion more on different points. Mr. Faad, what's your understanding of the kind of target that has been expressed by a finance minister yesterday regarding the IT sector in particular, taking the export to $50 billion? What's your understanding of that?
Well, I think it's due time that we give importance to the IT sector. Our neighbors have done this, and in the past we've seen tremendous growth in it. What do we lack, and how cannot we just come apart from this? Is that it's a very less investment, and it gives you bigger outputs, and it's the need of the hour, because exports is what Pakistan needs, and it's a very short turnaround. If there's a manufacturing process of any kind of product in Pakistan, it takes about usually 90 days to complete it, but for an IT project to be completed, it can be done in 2 hours to maximum 24 hours. And then there's the bigger projects. And, we're labor intensive and we're cheaper labor. So the world looks at cheaper labor at this point, and we have the skilled ones. So I think, it's best time and it's high time that we give incentive to the IT sector. The most important thing that we missed in the past, in the couple of years that, the IT is struggling, is because of the framework that wasn't present. But now there's a framework, and now they're getting good incentives on it. And the fixed regime, the fixed taxation regime, it's really encouraging, because now they'll get a little level playing field. You do understand the problem we have is energy. The basic root problem to any kind of production, any kind of I would say any kind of junction for a business is electricity, the main energy source. We lack in those. And then again, we have the political instability problems, just like my friend mentioned here about the internet closures. It is a hindrance, but we have to find a way out of it. We have to be positive. We have to stay on the positive line, because, see, we are a very fragile economy. And the only thing that can actually boost us up at this point is IT. And I recently heard, yesterday on the economic survey, there were about 10 cities that our finance minister is working on to bring them as IT hubs. And I think, they should give more incentive to the buildings as well, the owners of the investors, because that's where the actual money is going to come from. If you really want to build an IT city, you're going to need developers, you're going to need better real estate. And at this point, the circulation of money is not really happening the way it was supposed to be. And in crisis time, money circulation is everything that generates taxes. So I think if they give out more incentives on generating and circulations, it'll be better. If the running taxes are going up to 39%, and now that super tax, we hope it doesn't extend, because that's discouragement of actually placing an investment into Pakistan. Because if I will be taxed on making more money, I will be discouraging this, and I'll probably be divesting it somewhere else. So why not give me incentive of actually investing into Pakistan and not investing out of Pakistan? So that would be my bigger take on the IT sector, especially because IT sector, I have witnessed in the past 1 year, the growth is tremendous and the opportunities are amazing. So if we are on the radar of the world, I think we should cash it at this point.
Right. Let me proceed with the discussion. Mr. Faad, what's your understanding, as Mr. Tariq Yusuf has elaborated in detail in order to incentivize and also the probable areas in order to reduce the dependency on imports?
I think a couple of points he's rightly raised, that we just don't want to do it. Similarly, as he mentioned, the chip technology, the government actually has to work down a paper, and they have to really have a framework of bringing out new innovation ideas. If there's an industry that's 100% being imported, the government has to look into it, and has to really provide incentive to put up an industry with that. Because see, I'm not going to invest in something any businessman is not going to invest in something which he knows the government is not going to allow in the next couple of years. So what we really need is actually a straight policy, a 10-year policy, a 15-year policy, nothing less than 10 years. Because when we'll have a vision collectively as a nation, we'll definitely achieve something. Again, I'm going to mention a couple of other areas. There's, palm oil. So palm oil is being imported. 95% of it is being imported. Palm oil is 100%, but other oils are 5%, which make about the local production. But that's importing. You're importing all of it, and you're not, putting the step up, and you're not really educating your farmers. You're not telling people to, substitute those. So we really need substitution of the imports. Similarly, we're using plastic, but now the world is shifting towards other modes. Coming back to glass. Not recycling, because you cannot recycle plastic. It has to be, it'll be on the earth forever. Me and you will pass away, but plastic is going to stay forever. And that is one of the reasons we hit these floods. The global population was actually the cause of these floods. And the global warming is also, on the rise.
So what's the alternate?
So alternate, we have to find out, we have to eliminate plastics. We have to eliminate these kinds of, non-renewable or, non-recyclable materials. We have to come to renewables. Similarly in energy, we have the best deserts in the world. We have large spaces. We can put up solar parks there. We can put up solar, floating parks in the waters. And we've really missed out on the hydel. We have to come back where there was a regime 10 years ago that, they were putting up hydel power plants on run of the rivers. But it's non-existent anymore, because again, it's the same part as my friend is mentioning, we haven't really excelled in engineering. We have to give out that vibe, we're accepting new things, we're accepting the innovation. So let's say the government is supposed to invest into IT today. They'll have G2G, programs. And when they'll have G2G programs, we'll have the B2B programs. And then, the public-to-public thing comes in. So all this actually relies on what direction the government gives to the businessman. If I'm going to make a new park, if I'm going to bring out some new technology, I'm going to use my money, I'm going to use the labor, I'm going to bring out new imports. But what if I start importing something and I get to know there's no policy framework to import this thing into Pakistan? So that is, now I'm back to ground zero. So the policies have to be set before, and then you have to incentivize the manufacturing part, and then only we can, excel in those.
So you already, Mr. Faad, you already mentioned renewables. Now there is a target that's been set by Finance Minister, according to which by 2025 the country will shift the energy needs to 25% on green energy. How important and crucial that is?
I think it's really important, because the one thing nobody really put focus on was creating more energy. We were being born every day. We know population was growing every day, but nobody thought of it, it's going to bring a shortfall of this in a couple of years. So that is something very important. And I think going green is the best way. If you look at Canada today, if you look at America today, they have surplus energy. They're selling it out. And we actually lacked in those because Central Asian regions were with us. We had the CASA 1000 in line, it didn't happen. We had the TAPI project, it didn't happen. So actually, energy is our need, and we need to actually implement those into green energy.
So to get that transition from the conventional sources of energy on the imported fuel in particular, is it going to be an uphill task?
It is. It is going to be a very aggressive task, because there are stakes with us. We have external stakes. We are buyers for someone, so we'll definitely have this problem of converting to green energy. But then again, we have to look at our own selves. One of the major things I always talk about is we have to come out of this lobby system in Pakistan. Pakistan needs to have their own grid. The state has to have its own policy without any hindrance of any kind of mafia or cartel. We have to actually think what Pakistan is about. We, as a nation, we have to come back to one standard, one thinking, and one decision. When we take this decision, that's the only part which we're missing at. If we stop this system, if we actually we make this decision today, we have to export more textiles. We'll start growing cotton. We'll start growing it. It's been decreasing over the years because we're planting more sugarcane, but then we're not exporting it. But we were exporting cotton. So
in order to enhance the exports from the textile sector, don't you think there has to be a very high input of energy when it comes to it. That was already mentioned by Dr. Sajid also. So
Yes.
that's why he was saying there is a huge potential in agriculture sector as compared to that of textiles. So when we talk about textile sectors in particular, is it possible, is it very much probable, in fact, to have a transition from the conventional energy sources in the textile sector to the renewables?
Yes, there is, and I think a lot of factories in Faisalabad have actually done this. They've converted to solar, and I would say, agriculture is actually the basic commodity of textiles. So we have one of the best cotton in the world. So let's say our industrialists, our businessmen invest into land and growing cotton. So that same cotton actually also produces cotton oil. So you can actually use that as well. The byproducts are numerous. So the cotton you're going to grow, you can use that into textile and export that. And the remainder of the byproduct of the cotton is going to be CSO, the cotton seed oil. So you can use that seed and for meals of the poultry, and the same oil can be used for cooking. So there's no leftovers, So I think that's one of the best investments we can do, because that way we will be curbing our imports of cooking oil, and we'll be increasing the exports of textiles.
Let me take Mr. Faad's view on this. What's your understanding of this when it comes to research and development in order to enhance the per acre yield? You already mentioned in your first.
It's very important, and I do understand, and I have been a part of it in the past couple of years. That I was a guest speaker at the Faisalabad Arid University. They have been really hard working on nutrition aspects of different things, and my per se was the same. We really need to invest into new innovation areas, and we have to create the industry linkages with the institutions, because these guys are into research and development. It really has to come to the commercial aspect now and the business aspect, and we have to actually work as a team. The government has to come down to this level and connect the businesses with the institutions, because what really does not exist is the confidence, the trust that we don't develop between the student and the businessman. Because see, the businessman is seeking profit, the student is looking for validation. So they both have to come down to some part of the world that they have to agree on one page that this is my expectation. That expectation matches is going to do everything. But in the same context, we still lack in that research and development with the technology. So we need other institutions to collaborate with our universities, international collaborations for yield, especially for agriculture, especially, so we can come back to the growth that we actually expect from our farmers and the region that compete the region.
So let's suppose here is the scenario: if all the stakeholders go just right about it, the right machinery is imported, or for that matter, it is locally manufactured. The transfer of the technology happens, the private partnership happens, the government comes in, it makes the private stakeholders and the universities to come to the single platform. Everything goes right about it. What about the climate catastrophe? How to deal with that? If you're getting normally a good per acre yield, how to deal with the climate catastrophe as we had seen in the last year?
See, what we really don't expect in Pakistan is the climate change and the climate change catastrophes. How to handle those. Let me be very open on this. There's countries that are doing farming in sheds. So we have control sheds for farming now. It's not really necessary to have open fields to farm. But today, people are farming in sheds. So we can have that controlled environment, and we can actually start producing. See how my brother mentioned here that, we're only dealing with fruits and vegetables in the seasons, and out of season we don't get anything. But if you travel the world, you'll find all the fruits every time, because they're importing. And the problem with Pakistan is we haven't really, experienced, and we haven't really updated our system to preserve our agriculture, to export. See, a mango that travels from Pakistan to Canada or America is supposed to be used in the next 7 days because it'll rot. But we don't have that preservative that it can, extend the shelf life of that mango. Similarly is the case with our bananas and our the spices we have. They're best in the world, but then again, we're not really exporting those. We actually don't go into the non-traditional markets. We think, it's not going to be exported, but if you go to Canada, if you go to America, we go to Europe, you'll see that people actually love the flavor of this land. So I think we really need to cash in on the traditional part of it.
Mr. Faad Waheed, Vice President, Islamabad Chamber of Commerce and Industry, thank you very much for taking time out for this special transmission regarding the federal budget.